You want me to put that on my Tudor?
It's worse now. So where's the suicide threat? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Harry's wife is a mid-range narcissist. This means she's passive-aggressive, save from when behind closed doors, and then the heated ignition of fury can often be shown, hence the bullying allegations against her. She operates a facade, so to the outside world she portrays herself as a kind, empathic, caring, philanthropic, charitable, empowered female feminist. She's manipulative, but often in a passive-aggressive way. She'll often use pity plays to cause people to feel sorry for her. She believes herself to be the victim of racism, the victim of hate, the victim of nastiness from the royal family, the victim of a vindictive vendetta originating from the British media. She's trotted out this victim narrative time and time again as part of her narcissism, so that it can nullify the threats to control that have come her way and elicit sympathy from certain quarters, namely the brainless shuggers and similar supporters, that provides her with fuel. So often we've heard about her saying, "But nobody asked if I was okay," and that she dropped to the floor sobbing in her melodramatic way. When anything goes wrong for her, it's never her fault, even though of course it is, because everything she touches turns to shit. But no, it's your fault, their fault, the press's fault, Harry's fault, her father's fault, her half-sister, half-brother's fault, the man in the moon's fault, fucking Donald Duck's fault. Never her fault. The world is just such a meanie to her. Unpleasant, cruel, unkind. And she doesn't understand why, because she just believes that she is caring and kind and doesn't see that her behaviour is the problematic. And one of the most prominent examples of this victim mentality and rampant pity play arose, of course, during the tell-all interview, the bombshell interview with Oprah, when she opened up about her supposed suicidal thoughts that she experienced during her pregnancy with Archie. She said at the time, "Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially because I know how much loss he has suffered." False compassion. "But I knew that if I didn't say it, then I would do it," Harry's wife told Oprah. "I just didn't want to be alive anymore." Harry's wife explained that the relentless negative media coverage of her and the palace's unwillingness to refute false stories caused her distress. She also said her request for mental health care was denied by the royal family. When she went to the palace's human resources department, she said she was told they could not help her as she was not a paid employee. Her account paints a bleak picture of royal life and elucidates the effects of the alleged harmful and racist tabloid press. However, many people have rightly pointed out that given Harry's work in mental health, given the money that they had, given the fact that she was pregnant, it would have been very easy indeed to arrange an appointment with a suitable mental health professional if this was taking place. Piers Morgan didn't believe her, and he was criticised for suggesting that this was all play acting on her part, memorably dubbing her Princess Pinocchio. Others have pointed to the fact that on the occasion when she was meant to have had these suicidal thoughts, that she then popped up at Cirque du Soleil, grinning like a Cheshire cat, certainly not looking like somebody who had earlier been contemplating suicide. Many people, therefore, didn't believe her. Some narcissists will commit suicide, but it is rare, and I've done a separate video about that if you'd like to understand more on the topic. But certain narcissists, particularly those of a mid-range variety, will regularly use the threat of suicide as a means of manipulation. It can be used as a preventative hoover, for instance, to stop an intimate partner from leaving. It might be done in order to try and hoover somebody back into the relationship. "I'm feeling suicidal, I need you." Some narcissists even go so far as to make a tentative slash of the wrists or possibly down a few tablets with a bit of vodka. But there's never any intention to go through with it. The reason being, the narcissism wants them alive. But the narcissism doesn't care about the impact upon other people, doesn't care about people making a dash across town, dropping everything that they have in order to go and help this person. The narcissism doesn't care about the fact that this will upset and distress family members, intimate partners, etc. All that matters is that it enables the narcissist to assert control and to draw fuel. Perhaps also manage a facade in some way to engender public sympathy. Harry's wife claimed that she was experiencing suicidal thoughts at a time when she was pregnant and when she alleged that it was the unremittingly unpleasant coverage by the tabloid press. For the reasons I've already expanded on, there's a few question marks about whether that was accurate. Add to that the fact that a narcissist would well use the threat of suicide as a means to manipulate people, but then also add this in. Surely the situation is worse now for Harry's wife than it was back then. Back then, she was still a member of the royal family. Back then, she didn't have any concerns about security or money. She had more support back then than she has now. Now, her support has not only plummeted in the United Kingdom, but it has in the United States and around the world. Now, the deals have dried up. Nobody seems to be interested. Now, more and more people have seen through because we've had years of the behaviour. And those that might have sat on the fence once upon a time now can see through her. There is a repeated tsunami of criticism and disbelief at her behaviours on social media. Each and every day, there's more reportage across blogs, across mainstream news, across mainstream newspapers about another failure for the Sussexes. The fallout from Spare, the cancellation of Spotify, the ultimatum from Netflix, the Dior debacle, the suggestion that their marriage is on the rocks, that they've separated, that the A-list don't want anything to do with them, that friends have retreated from them, the criticism about her failure to still involve herself with her father, etc., etc. This body of criticism has never been greater than it is now. And yet, given that the press on a daily basis is amplifying and highlighting her criticisms and failures, where's the suicide? Where is the suicidal ideation now? You would have thought, because the press hasn't given her a pass and decided, look, she's a fragile soul, we won't report on her anymore, and thus leave her alone. That hasn't happened. In fact, it's got worse. Now, the press was never racist. That was just a fiction invented by her revision of history. But it certainly always shines a spotlight on her failings, on her ridiculousness, on her unpopularity. You can take your pick from a variety of newspapers that have almost made it a sport to publicise how crap she is and how she's failing. If she were to walk into a newsagent's, she would see at least 8 titles that would somewhere within, if not on the front page, be heralding another failure on her part, more criticisms. Whether it was the near-catastrophic car chase that wasn't, through to the cancellation by Spotify and the suggestions that they're running out of money and their marriage is on the rocks. It's coming from left, right and centre. Your money's running out. You've got no deals. That deal's been cancelled. People don't want to know you. People are sick and tired of your lies. The royal family are getting on without you. They don't want you either. A litany of criticism, and yet no suicide threat. Has Harry's wife suddenly got all the more resilient? Well, if you were to put it to her, if you were ever allow such an interview to suggest to her, you're being criticised more than ever, don't you feel suicidal? She would say, I've grown, I'm more resilient. The fact is, it is simply a form of manipulation. And the fact that now things are even worse and there's silence on that front suggests that it never happened previously. You would think that if she was buckling under the pressure back then, this is even worse. And it wouldn't be suggested that somehow she's got used to it. Because even after the South Park parody, she was so upset about that, she and Ginger Bollocks considered suing. So the fact is, it once again demonstrates the way that Harry's wife acts repeatedly by way of her manipulative behaviours. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.